Cody Phillips has a question. It says, I was asked if Satan was omnipresent. I said no, but met some pushback. What are some good Bible verses to prove why Satan is not omnipresent and why this attribute is exclusive to God? I guess I think the burden of proof in this case is on the person who wants to prove that Satan is omnipresent or omnipresent. So omnipresence, and I will have verses to prove he's not, but omnipresence is a big deal. You're saying he's transcendent beyond creation. He is in all places at all times. Imagine saying God's omnipresent, but then I have no evidence for it. Like I have no verses to prove it. Like then you'd be like, well, you got to have verses to prove it, but you can't just make doctrine up. That would be my answer to the person who says that Satan's omnipresent. But there's other things too. So probably the verse that jumps out to me the most is when in Revelation, Satan is cast down out of heaven. He's cast down out of heaven. If Satan's omnipresent, you can't cast him out of anywhere. He can't actually be cast out. So he's cast down out of heaven in the book of Revelation. So he's not present in heaven. And then Satan's thrown into the lake of fire at the end. And so you can't throw him into, he's not confined to the lake of fire if he's omnipresent, but Revelation shows him being confined to that location. And so he's not omnipresent. These seem pretty obvious to me. Now someone could counter and say, but Mike, doesn't the Bible say that God's presence left the temple? But if God's omnipresent, how could his presence leave the temple? But God, his awareness and his omnipresence was never cast out of or removed from the temple. It was a special, like, extra spiritual presence of God that came and left from the temple. But what we have in scripture is clear statements like in the Psalms, I go to heaven, you're there. I make my bed in the dust and you're there. I go down to Hades, you're there. So wherever I go, Lord, your omnipresence is there, even though your felt presence, your manifest presence that everybody's aware of, that's not there. That's the thing that moved, came and went from the temple and stuff. But God's omnipresence is always everywhere. Satan, on the other hand, is actually confined to the lake of fire.